that is what we do so often. Way too many leaders I see. Well, the thing I want to develop is this over here where I'm not very good at this. Yes, but you're great in this. Why don't you just build a team of people who have these skills that you don't?
Are you wasting time trying to fix your micro weaknesses instead of focusing on what you naturally do best? You're not alone if you are. True executive presence is not about putting on a show or faking some polished persona. It's just having the confidence to be transparent about what you know, what you don't know, and showing up authentically as you. So let's dive into this conversation.
This is Leadership Sound Bites. Real leaders, real moments, real growth.
So, welcome to this week's episode of Leadership Soundbites with my very special guest, Melna Jones. Melna and I met because we're both coaches and we support groups through Brain Squared. And so I had the privilege of getting to know you because normally we're in swim lanes, so we're each doing our own thing and we don't necessarily get together and do stuff. And you're just a delight. And
Oh,
so
thank
I
you.
just enjoyed learning from you. And I know you had the list of icebreakers, and even now, I the one that stood out to me is if your last week or month or day was a weather report, what would it be? And I think that's something that people can relate to. So I appreciate that about you. You're a leadership development coach on new and transitioning leaders. So that's your primary target, or
It
at least
is.
people that you are focused on helping. And
Yes.
so I feel really privileged to be in the room with you, ma'am. So you have a quote that you uncovered, and I
Yay.
would love if you can get our conversation started with the quote.
Okay. The quote is lead from who you are and not who you think you're supposed to be.
I have a lot of meaning that comes to mind for me when I hear that, and I'm curious, what does it mean for you?
It means that I should be who I am instead of trying to be all things for everyone. Depending on the situation in the room I'm sitting in or the table I'm sitting at, I can just show up as me. No preparation, just me. I don't have to be anyone else or sound like anyone else or
Mhm.
come with any preparation to say something that makes me appear to be whoever I think people think I am. And that's the big
Yeah.
question. Who do you think
Mhm.
people are, think you are?
Well, it's interesting when you were saying it, there's a number of different scenarios that come to mind. Let's say people readying for, because you talk about new leaders and then transitioning people.
Yes,
Transition can be from job to job, right? Transition can be from I'm a leader of myself and not people, and then I transition to a people leader. And through that, we're going to be in the room with people in something called an interview. And
yes.
so when I hear that quote, there's plenty of leaders that I've coached before going in that interview that don't show up buttoned up, polished up, something else to your point, because we don't let people in. And
Yeah.
when we don't let people in, they walk away and really don't have a sense of who we are.
Hmm.
So when you have people that don't have the benefit of being in the room with a coach to talk them through what that looks like, what can people do? Because there's a lot of people that may not know who they are because they've been so busy chasing the should be.
Hmm. Yes. Oh gosh, yeah. And that is one of the areas that I really focus in on
Mm.
with especially new and transitioning coaches. Transitioning, yeah, they are in a leadership role and maybe they've been in there for a year or two or a number of years, but they want to go to the next level.
Mhm.
I am in this middle management role and I see myself at the director level, at the executive level, or whatever. And so they're trying to move forward. So they've been there for a minute and they may have some sense of who they are as a leader, and sometimes not at all. But
Mhm.
what I like to say to folks, even if you are an emerging leader or a new leader with less than a year in your role, and you're going to be sitting in these rooms with people, and you don't really know who you are, then it's all about, because it's innate, really, who we are. It's innate. It's from when we were a little bitty something. But we may not be in direct connection with that person any longer because we're trying to be who we think others expect us to be. So I would say to them, the first thing I coach around with folks like in this position or in this place is, who do you want to be?
Mm.
And who do you feel like you need to be? Because usually those are two different people. Who do you want to be, and who do you feel like you need to be to do this job? And a lot of the time, the person they feel that they need to be is stressing them out. I have a lot of folks who are, doing a job and they want to do the best that they can. They want to be the best leader. They didn't come from an individual contributor role into this role of leadership and now I'm going to, really do a poor job. They want to
Hmm.
be the best that they can be. They want to bring all the traits they had as an individual leader, although that doesn't necessarily transfer or translate over, but they want to do well. So they are trying to be who the expectation of them or whoever they work with or for has for them to be. And that is almost impossible sometimes when you think about it from the perspective of someone coming into a new job, a new role, and not really knowing that role or that job.
Hmm.
I know for myself, I went into my first leadership role thinking, I got this. I know what to do. I've taken training. I've gone to school. I've had classes. I've read books. I'm ready. I can do this. And then I stepped into the role and found that like Wilkerson writes about, the thing that got me into this position is not the thing that I need to stay here.
Hmm.
It's not what I need to know. And the things that I did need to know as a new leader, I didn't. And
Hmm.
I was struggling. But at the same time, I was trying to show up as who I thought people expected me to be. And I didn't feel confident in that role. I didn't know who she was.
Mm.
I didn't know how to walk, talk, act like, this person that I thought they expected me to be. I only knew how to be me. And I didn't think me was good enough for the role.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo. I think that's the underlying um, narrative, if you will, and
Yeah.
limiting belief that a lot of times we have. People tagline it as like imposter syndrome, and it's not, it's fear.
Yes.
And because I think in the stuff that you were talking about is we humans can have unrealistic expectations of
Mm,
what the role is, of what a leader is, right? So you have, to your point, different levels of leadership. We lead ourselves first, right? We're individual contributors. And when we make that shift from individual contributor to people leader for the first time, so
mm,
when now we're leading individual contributors, um, a lot of times that if we're a high performer and we've led ourselves successfully, right, to be able to get to that promotion, that next step up, we can make the assumption that people are like us. So I'm just going to do what worked for me and it's going to work for everyone else. And then they're smack dab in the hit in the face with these people aren't like me. Like different things motivate them. And, I drove myself and I don't understand why these people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, right?
yes.
And I think that's where the real leadership journey, if we haven't started it before, starts, is this realization that um, we need to be able to connect with people and meet them where they're at. And we
Yeah.
all show up with different communication styles and motivation things and challenges that get in the way and all the stuff. And then you layer on, and I've been in the room with a number of leaders, even today, that believe this, that if I'm the leader, I'm expected to have all the answers. And so then all roads lead to me. And who can succeed in that situation?
Exactly. No one.
Thank
It's
you.
impossible. It
Yes.
really is. It's
Yeah.
impossible. And I feel like, and that is exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing. I love to hear your story sometime too, why you're doing what you're doing. But it's exactly why I'm doing this because that expectation is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But you're trying, really trying hard to do what you think you ought to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's impossible. It really is. And it's driving a lot of people. I know for me, I wanted to quit several times. I thought, "Ah, I wasn't cut out to be a leader. I absolutely was. But at the time, the circumstances and everything that, that environment I was in said, you're not a leader, you're not leader material. And you should step down and step away before you
Mm.
do too much damage.
Because
And
you're really screwing stuff up.
right. And I was. I really was. I made a lot of mistakes, a whole lot of mistakes. But it was also how I learned as I
Mm-hmm.
went through it. But I think that for so many leaders, especially those who are in that place or that position where they don't know who they are as a leader, and I like to tell them too when I am working with someone who's new, don't get too upset with yourself. Give yourself some grace
Mm-hmm.
because what you're going through is actually like a 18-month transition.
Mm.
Nothing happens overnight. You are not going to step out of this role that you left as individual contributor where you were highly exalted. People really loved the work you did
Mm-hmm.
into this role as a new leader and be the same.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to be. And it's going to take you just as much time as it did to learn that role over there to do this one and do it well. Learn this one and do it well. But no one tells you that as a new leader. You just think you suck and everyone notices it. And this seems to be going on forever. And you can't seem to climb your way out of this hole that you dug yourself into. So you might as well just quit. But it really does take a bit of time to learn a new skill. And that's what it is. It's
Mm-hmm.
developing the skills. Like you said, communication, how to have those difficult conversations with people when you've never had that. If you were having a difficult time with a coworker, you just ignored them. You did your work
Mm-hmm.
and you let them fail over there. But
Yeah.
as a leader, you have to make sure that everyone is thriving and
Mm-hmm.
everyone's work is successful. And you can't turn your back on one of your people and help the other one over here and ignore that one. So it takes building the skills. And I think a lot of that is not relayed to the emerging leader.
Mm-hmm.
And too often, I don't know if it's gotten better out there in the corporate world or not, but too often they step into the role with no understanding of what it means or what it's going to take to lead a group of people.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're putting out fires from the moment they step into the role. They're going from meeting to meeting. There is no time, to develop a skill like learning to communicate with people who don't communicate the way that you do, or to be able to delegate and task someone with work when really you don't know if they can do the job and you just want to do it yourself so you can get it done and get it
It's
done
easier.
correctly.
It's just
It's
easier.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it makes it so much tougher. And I think too often, and it's why I do what I do, you see people who have not been given that level of training and
Mm-hmm.
education to really do well. They're just
Mm-hmm.
thrown in the deep water and told to swim.
Mm-hmm. There are, I coach with Coach Hub too, and Coach Hub is an organization that employers contract with them,
Okay.
digital coaching platform, right? Their goal is to democratize coaching to be able to support leaders in the organization.
Oh,
So
nice.
this isn't all organizations that have coaching for new leaders or
No.
even frontline. I've had frontline people. I've coached college students through this platform that the college signed them up.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
so I see not even pockets, maybe drips of organizations, that will step into it. And that being said, they will have a resource, which is awesome because lacking that, unless the leader that you report to has been developed themselves,
Yeah.
because ideally, it's like the person that you report to is able to develop you as you step into this role. They may or may not have the skills. And so, what I tell people is if your one up, the person that you report to, does not have the skills to be able to develop you, don't get pissed off at them. Okay. You're an adult being able to self-manage your development. Go find someplace else where you can get the development that you need and don't get angry at the person that you report to because they don't have it. You can't pour from an empty cup, right?
Yes.
And so recognize that. The interesting part too is when people go from individual contributor to first time being a people leader is writing that story and that narrative they have going. And to your point, I love the 18-month runway. It's
Yeah.
like give yourself a break. If it's I had one newer leader that the existing process of this part of the organization that she was stepping into, they had deliverables was broken. Things didn't work well. And in her mind, the expectation was that this next cycle that this quarterly report came out, it would be fixed. I said, where'd that expectation come from? She goes, I think me. I'm like, it's not realistic. You need to be able to actually see the process in its brokenness one time through, at least, to be able to understand what's going on, to be able to understand what adjustments need to be made. So don't set yourself up with that expectation because you show up the wrong way. Like instead of going in to observe what someone else is doing, you're like telling yourself you've got to own it. And it's like, what experience are you creating for the other human? And she's like, I never even thought about that. And so this is the stuff. And I love what you said about being yourself. Set up realistic expectations. If you're not this, command the room leader, like people think about executive presence is one of those terms, Melna.
Yes.
Is
Yes.
that, I'm told I don't have an executive presence. Great. What does it mean to you? And there's a variety of definitions out there of executive presence. What it's not, to your point, is you showing up like Steve Jobs or Simon Sinek or, some other CEO level. It's about you showing up with confidence in who you are and what you're saying to be able to
Yes.
lead the team at whatever direction they need to lead in. It's about you being transparent. And I don't mean sharing all that you know, because there's stuff that you know that you're not at liberty to share.
Yeah.
But it's about, to your point, being authentically you, appropriate for the work environment, because there's some aspects of us that we're not going to bring to work with us, but it's not faking it.
Right.
And so I think that when we communicate that with people, that executive presence is around confidence. You care about your team, you're able to lead people through, you're able to, share with transparency what you know and what you don't know. That's executive presence.
It is. It is. And I can't tell you how many leaders I talk to who don't know,
Mm-mm.
don't have an idea of what theirs looks like or how it shows up or how even to be authentic. It
Mhm.
amazes me. And I know part of it, like I said before, part of it is innate. It's who you are at your core. We have DNA that certain gifts, certain strengths, certain weaknesses that we've had all of our lives. Sure, we can develop some skills, but those strengths that we have and those weaknesses, I don't think that they're going to. I mean, if Johnny went to school and got a report card, brought it home in elementary school, and his parents were like, "Hey, Johnny, give me the." They look at the report card and say, "Oh, he did excellent. He got an A in literature or in English or whatever." But over here in math, he got a D. Their eyes are focused in on that D. Let's improve this area that you are weak in. Johnny grows up and becomes an accountant because he has struggled with math all of his life and he has taken class after class, training after training to increase his abilities and his strength in math. Still isn't all that great. He's
Mm-mm.
better than he was in elementary school, but it is not his strength. He would be better off getting work in communications, writing a book, doing something along those lines. But
Mhm.
instead, he's over here trying to make his weakness better, stronger. And that
Mhm.
is what we do so often. Way too many leaders I see. Well, the thing I want to develop is this over here where I'm not very good at this. Yes, but you're great in this. Why don't you just build a team of people who have these skills that you don't? If
Mhm.
someone else on your team is good, really good at building relationships, use them to go out there and do all of that while you do what you're good at. You're good at strategy, strategic thinking, then you do that. And then you guys come together, you put it all together as a team, and oh my gosh, you're unbeatable in that way. But if
Mhm.
you are focused as a leader on trying to build a skill that you are not strong at, you are wasting your time.
Mm.
You are wasting the time of your team members. They're going to be looking at you like, why isn't he or she asking me to do that? I am really good at that and I enjoy it.
Mhm.
Why aren't you don't value me? You don't see me. I'm not getting my worth in this role or in this position. My supervisor, manager, leader does not see my worth. I
Mm.
need to find a new role, a new team, a new boss. And so I tell them all the time, let's start with your DNA. Let's start with where your strengths lie. What are you
Mm.
good at? And then we'll talk about your values. What do you value most? What's most important to you? And when we put those things together, that is your superpower. That is your superpower. And if you're in a position or a role or you're working in a job that does not value what you value, you're going to have some problems.
Mhm.
And then you're going to have to determine and decide whether or not this is for me or maybe it's not. But start with where you're strong at and stop trying to be who you're not. Like we
Yeah.
started off the conversation, too many leaders, especially new and emerging ones, or even transitioning, don't know themselves well enough, have never really stopped to reflect on what strengths they bring to the table, to the
Mhm.
role, and how best to use those strengths so that then they can translate that to the team and say, you know what? Being fully transparent and authentic, I'm not very good at this. Anyone on a team who really enjoys doing this, and then you set yourself and your team up for success instead of laboring and trying to do it all yourself and not getting it done well.
It's interesting when you were talking. I had the privilege of coaching some leaders that were in a like an executive internal executive development program. It was like a 10-month, drink from the fire hose kind of thing. And so this one leader that I got in the room, she was in this role, newer, like a year, senior leader. And she said, the thing I need to work on is finance. I'm not good
Mm,
at finance. I said, so say more about that. Because in the role that you're in, I'm like, you're not the controller, right? And she goes, well, I'm just not good at it. And I said, so do you know people who are?
mhm.
Yes. Said, are these people that who can you lean on basically in this area that you're not good on? Because it's like, let's shift your focus to your
Yeah.
point, Melna, of working, having to close this gap that doesn't need to be closed in that way. To your point, is if you need a strength in finance, does it have to be you? And the stuff that we look at is around identifying what our strengths are. And you hit on it is like that stuff that we're strong in, if we don't know, look at the stuff that you get joy in doing. The stuff
Yes.
that you just gravitate toward, that fills your cup up, whatever language you use, that it's like, if nothing else, this is the thing that I just naturally that's your strength, I guarantee you. Because we're not naturally gravitating towards something that we suck at, to your point.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. We have to force ourselves into doing things. And so, tomorrow's not guaranteed. And it is play to your strengths, play to the strengths of the team. Because to your point, what what I remember is, and this is back before I was a people leader in the corporate world. There was another gal that we were developing solutions. We were in finance for in access databases. I had my strengths, she had her strengths in access. We were able to leapfrog and develop so much stuff because what I didn't have, she had. What she didn't have, I had. And so it was like together we created this,
Yes.
supercharged whatever, became a best practice in the organization. They eventually took it from access databases into SQL world and stuff like that. But I mean, we wouldn't have been able to do what we did if we hadn't joined forces. And
Right?
it's the same way you and I had a conversation just about AI, large language models. It's that same kind of thing. When we partner with resources that are out there, we can leapfrog in ways that we couldn't do it before.
Absolutely. I think that, I think, like you were speaking of earlier, the fear just colors everything when you're in that position of not knowing who you are, and you don't have the confidence in yourself or in your abilities. Then that fear just kind of takes over and it blankets everything, and you don't recognize what's right there in front of you, the assets that are available to you should you just open your eyes, reach out and ask, you know. And you're right. You build a high performing team because me plus you equals this. Me by myself is just this little, but us together is so much better, so much bigger, grander. And I think that just, it somehow does not, it just doesn't appear to someone who's in that place of fear. They don't know it.
Yeah, the thing I would say is because when you were talking just now, it's like when you're in that place of fear, it's not obvious. But
No.
then again, when you're in survivor brain, fight or flight, and you know this, we
Yes.
shut down all the parts of our brain that we need to be able to see that stuff that's right in front of us because we're too busy running from the hungry tiger that doesn't exist, right? And so in fact, I have a client recently that for her, hungry tiger didn't resonate. It was polar bear. And so she said, Michelle, I just keep reminding myself when I start to feel that there's no polar bear. There is no polar bear. I don't need to go there. So I totally agree. Melna, I love the time with you. I mean, I could just sit and chat with you for days.
Yeah, this is so great, Michelle.
Yeah, and so I'm going to ask as we wrap up, what one or two things would you love people to walk away with just around the topic and the things that we chat about it today?
The first would be that you're not alone. You really aren't. I talk to, and I know it can be lonely at, at the top, and wherever you're at your top right now. And people forget that they aren't alone and that there are others who have either walked this journey that they are on or are walking it right now. And I like to tell people, don't try to do it alone. For me, I had a mentor, number one. I didn't have a coach at the time because they didn't do that back then. You had to be at, C-suite level to get a coach. So I didn't have a coach, but I had a mentor. And then I also had this group of lady friends that would meet with me after work some nights, and we would talk about all things work. And
Mm,
that would give me an opportunity to let go of some of the stress I was holding on to from my day or my week, and then to hear back from someone else, their reflections of what I said I was going through. And to hear it back sometimes is like, that, no. So that would be number one. If you don't have it, get something in place where you're not in the boat by yourself because you
mhm,
are not alone. The other thing that I would say is give yourself some grace, please. It took me a while to recognize that I was doing okay. You're doing okay. It's all right. You have time. You don't learn anything overnight, any skill. If you were trying to go out for Major League Baseball, it would take you years to make the team, right? Think of this role as a leader, even if it's not your first time around the swimming pool, your first lap. Even if that's not the case, if you're in the middle of management and you've been at it for 10 or 12 years, it doesn't matter. You're in a new role. There are new skills to be learned for this new role. I can't tell you how many people I talk to who come into their new role thinking, I have no confidence. I have imposter syndrome. I've been a leader for 10 years. Why do I feel this way now? You're in a new role. There are new expectations, new responsibilities, and new skills to be learned. So give yourself a little grace and a little bit of time. If you think I should have this down pat like a new language I'm learning in 12 months, then give yourself 12 months and stop beating yourself up in the first month. Give yourself some grace.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Rome wasn't built in a day. Today's not
No.
the only day. What's a little bit better look like? All the stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that the thing too is to add is the and I've said this a lot, but we're so focused on looking ahead at the gap we have to close,
Yeah.
right? The goal that we have to do, is to take a look behind you and celebrate how far you've come.
Yes.
And sometimes it means to the basic stuff is could myself from 5 years ago or my 18-year-old self do what I'm doing today? And let me just give you a clue. The answer is no. So give yourself credit for how far you've come, whatever that time period looks like. And a lot of times we so forget to look back and acknowledge that stuff. And that's the thing that keeps us moving forward to go, you know what, I am better than what I was. Am I where I want to be? No,
Yes.
but I'm heading in the right direction. So yeah, thank
Absolutely. Yes.
you. This is awesome. I
Thank
will
you.
put LinkedIn, how people can get a hold of you, in the description. And you're
Thank you.
welcome back any time that you want to continue the chat. Um,
Awesome. I
yeah,
love it.
I've enjoyed this. Until next time, this is Leadership Soundbites with Michelle and Melna, and have an awesome, awesome day. Thank you.